So I absolutely love doing the dark and moody style, and it's a real signature of mine, and trying to find places to shoot that dark and moody is equally as fun. And a great place to do this is churches, cathedrals, where there's already sort of limited light source coming in, and you can get the light rays that do come in bounce off kind of like the rounded architecture of the columns, and it can create some really nice highlights in the image but also show up subjects. So if we take this one that we've got here, which was of a place in France, and we just look at the before and after that we've got here. Now it's nothing massively drastic, but essentially what we're doing with this preset here is we are pulling our eyes in to where we want to look in the middle, and we're taking the colors and making sure that we're bringing out more of a warm tone in there. We can see we've got a lot of kind of green wash that's come over the image, and we want to remove that and get this more warm feel. We also want to have good clarity and contrast, but a real soft kind of look around these as well. It's very easy to bump the clarity up too far with this and get a very aggressively sharp image, but we also want to see what we can do with some cool colors. Like you can see we have some blue down the bottom here, which is really reflecting out from the stained glass window. So we can't just saturate out every single color. And the masking here is a little bit more gentle than some of the stuff I would usually do, which is really just accenting out the bottom part. So this preset is taken directly from my Dark Academia pack, which you can get in the link below to my website if you like what you see here. And you'll get some loads of variations on this preset as well. And it's a perfect for achieving this dark and moody sort of indoor shots or any architectural places, and works really well where you've got images where there's a lot of color going on and you might want to saturate out a lot of this. So what I will do is just make a virtual copy of this. We will go in, hit reset to start again, and we will work our way through this image. Now you'll see as I've done that, it's just uncropped slightly because it didn't quite get that centered there. I'm just going to crop in on the image to really get that chair running down the middle with the window. Okay, so a large amount of preset we mentioned is going to be darkening down your image or light control. Now this image is already pretty dark, so we don't have to do a lot there, but we are going to use vignetting around the side just to help get rid of some of that stuff. But really this green color is not in keeping with what we want. We want a bit more of a warmer tone from this. So in our first panel that we have over to the side on our basic edit, I'm going to first of all just pull the highlights down on here and go the other way to boost our shadows up. I'm going to be fairly aggressive with both of these sides here, just like that. Now that's already brought in that detail that was kind of lost back in the columns here on the darkest points of it. The whites are just going to pull down, and blacks are going to come up as well. So this is me really brightening up this image just to see what I've got in here, and you can see it does make it a little bit grainy and noisy, but we're gonna fix that as well later on. But I just want to see what I've got actually in these columns and down the sides. What have I got to work with here? Now I want more of a softer glow to my image, so I'm actually going to bring down the clarity, but you may want to increase yours. Little texture bump. And we are definitely going to add in some dehaze just to help with a dramatic vibe. I'm going to leave the saturation alone for the moment, but I think what I'll probably want from these types of presets is just to raise our vibrancy. Okay, now that I've got that in there, I'm just going to bring my exposure down slightly. Just see what happens as I bring in some more contrast, how that's going to darken down the image. So it looks like it's going to darken down the image quite nice. So let's go over into our tone curve, and we're just going to see if we can darken down some points of this. That's it, and a tiny little lift. So small that I ended up scrolling there. There we go, and that's just really bringing a slight bit of contrast into the image there. And we'll deal with some of that noise and grain a bit later on. It was shot at a lot of a higher ISO here, and that was mostly because when I took this, I didn't have a tripod, and as you can see, the church itself, this corridor in particular, was very, very dark. I just loved the composition that was in here when I took it. But with some of the new AI tools we have now in Lightroom, I don't worry about this stuff as much anymore. But this is one of those moments where I just didn't have the tripod on my back, so I couldn't set it down and sort of take a better image with this. But that's okay. It's got its purpose, which is for this video. So that's what we're going to do on the tone curve then. It's just really just darken it down a little bit, bringing in a bit more contrast. And now I'm just going to come up here and add a bit more of a global contrast in. Now let's go down to the color side, and we're going to deal with this green that we've got and just make sure we start saturating anything else out. Got to be aware that we've got an array of colors here in the stained glass window as well. Some greens, reds and blues that we want to be aware of. We don't want to lose like the life out of that window too much. So let's take that green channel first and let's push that green channel more towards the warms. And same with the yellow one. So just pulling that up and down, you see the yellow is actually affecting quite a lot of that. So we'll bring that down as well. Don't think I want to do anything with the oranges there. No, I'm just going to leave these two alone for the moment. And now for that blue that's in the middle, probably want to push towards more of a slight aqua vibe. You saw at the beginning we had this nice glow that's now starting to come through from the window on there. And I want to keep that more aqua. I'm just going to consolidate these two colors by pushing blues to the left, aquas to the right, so the tones are closer to one another. Okay, it's looking better, but we want the dark and moody vibe, so we want to saturate out a lot of these colors. Instead of just going up top and pulling down that saturation globally, because we still want to keep some warms in, it's better to do it on this sliders down here. So that green one, first of all, needs to just go. I don't want any of that green going on, so it's going to 100% go out. And these warms are still a little bit too aggressive. So I'm going to pull all of these down as well. Blues I quite like, and I want to keep them in the stained glass window, so I don't want to really desaturate them down too much, so I'm actually just going to accent them out slightly. And I haven't really got many purples and magentas going on here, so they are going to 100% come down. Wow, 89. So you can see I'm still keeping some of those reds, the blues. We just lost the greens out of the stained glass window, but that doesn't bother me too much. It was more distracting around the side, so I'm willing to lose that just from that area there. Now that has darkened down our image quite a bit, so I'm just going to boost the luminance of most of these colors really. Especially that aqua, because that's our reflection on the floor there. Okay, so let's toggle on and off, and you can see the effect it's had. We've now got rid of that green. We've got more of a nice stone feeling coming down the sides here, but we've kept those warms. I think I'm just going to come back up to the calibration panel and just see if I can adjust how those warms look a little bit more. There we go, it's looking a bit nicer on that. Very, very subtle, but it's just looking at how the warms are affected on these pillars here. So next is going to be the color grading, and I'm going to lean into these warms a bit more. I'm just going to introduce some into the highlights area. And really, I want that more of a burnt feeling. So I'm bringing them into the highlights because that's where this is kind of striking down the side here, and you can see it on the stained glass window at the back as well. And then I'm just going to desaturate that down. It's very, very subtle that we want going onto this. It may look small, but all these small movements that you do, they do add up all together. So I'm going to sharpen a little bit in here, which is something I tend to the architectures, but really I wanted to focus in on like the lines of those columns because it's quite a noisy image. There we go, and that again I find it helps to add to the glow of the image as well if you're sharpening just those prominent lines. Now, I said there's a bit of noise in. For the noise side, I could use the denoise, or I could just manually come in and do it myself here. For the sake of time, I'm just going to put a little bit of a manual noise reduction in just to help out the image. So let's take a quick look at the before and after of where we are at this then. Now that looks pretty cool. See how we've got this nice aqua glow coming in down here. Maybe you don't like that, it's a bit too much, that's fine. You just go up to the aqua channel and you can remove it. We've brought out the window a lot more and we can see the colors in there, and we've got these nice warm tones. We've got rid of all that distracting green that's going on. And overall, we've got just a nice balanced sort of dark image. So also when you're dealing with stained glass windows, this is a great thing to turn on and off because it just removes some of the distraction and any kind of that light leakage. And then something you definitely want to make sure you have on any of these kind of dark academia, this dark and moody style, is a vignette. Now you can do that as a custom vignette with your brushes. Check out some of my other videos for that. For this one, because we don't really have any highlights, the composition is quite straight, we're just going to use the vignette tool down here. I'm going to put an aggressive one on. I'm going to pull my midpoint down as well and feather up slightly, and that's really just to be quite an aggressive vignette but very gently coming into the middle. So you can see how that's really nicely darkened down the sides of our images and just pulling that eyes a bit more into here. The last thing I would do with this then is just go into some masking, and I'm not going to go too deep into the masking, but certainly for the sake of this I would put a radial one here just over that glow. and I'm just going to boost the exposure. Now I could come down into the curves and do a similar thing, which is just to go more into the highlights area and boost the exposure from there. And over that window as well, I'm going to want a little bit of a glow, so I'm just going to draw another radial gradient. And for this one, I'm going to boost the exposure, some of the highlights, and also take away some dehaze, because that's going to give you a nice see glow that kind of comes through from the window there. So decide how much of that you want to come in on this. So a very, very quick bit of masking, but essentially you want to brighten up the subject areas where you're focusing. If you are in the churches like this and you've got the windows, the dehaze works really nicely to give you that little bit of glow. Same if you've got some light rays coming down, just accent what's already there in the image. So there is our before and after on this. Now I'd probably go back and make a lot more tweaks to this, but again, for the sake of this video and showing you this style, it's a really cool one to do. And you don't have to have the warms, you can take away all the warm colors and just go for more of a really desaturated monochromatic vibe to this. It's entirely up to you what you want to do with it. But that will be our final image for today. So if you like this preset, you can grab it down below on my website, along with a whole range of other different styles and dark and moody palettes. It's really a style that I love to do. If you want to learn more about Lightroom, what all these tools are actually doing, and improve your editing skills, then you can grab my masterclass down below as well. Otherwise, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.